Hello, everyone. My name is Danny Lang. I will be giving you a speech today about how the Blues won their first ever Stanley Cup this past season. These are my audience members, and these are my notes. All right. Gloria, take a moment and think about a specific event in your life where you overcame great adversity. Maybe it was something as simple as starting with a low grade and ending with an A in the class. Maybe it was something life changing like defeating an illness or disease. Think about the greatest moment of accomplishment in your life, and that is where the Blues players are at right now. Blues took 5 decades to win the Stanley Cup, and they did it all by uniting the city and its fans. Hockey is one of the 5 major sports in the United States, and winning the Stanley Cup is its highest honor. The Blues defied all odds on the way to capturing their first cup in the 52-year history of the franchise. I have always been a huge fan of hockey and the Blues. Growing up as a fan, I watched so many games with my dad and my sister and my mom. I just loved it. In order for you to understand the importance of the Blues finally winning the Stanley Cup, I will discuss the following points to you three. First, I will address the offseason signings made by the Blues as well as the lofty expectations for the season that followed. Second, I will explain exactly when and where the Blues hit their low point of the season. Third, I will discuss the unprecedented 11-game winning streak that turned the Blues season around. Fourth, I will chronicle the Blues' amazing run to the Cup final. The Blues made a flurry of offseason moves to position themselves right where they needed to be to make a deep playoff run. The Blues signed free agents Tyler Bozak, Pat Maroon, David Perron, and they also made a huge trade for All-Star Ryan O'Reilly. Born in Oakville, Missouri, Maroon chose to take less money and sign a one-year contract with his hometown team, the Blues. After narrowly missing out on the Cup last year with the Vegas Golden Knights, David Perron came back to the Blues for his third stint with the club. Before O'Reilly was traded to us, he never even played in a playoff game in his entire NHL career. He would soon prove ready for the challenges that lied ahead. These offseason moves placed high expectations on the team for the Blues, a franchise that has historically underperformed with great teams. The Blues traded away youth and talent for O'Reilly, showing that they wanted to win a cup right now. Standing next to O'Reilly at his announcement to the media, Blues legend and Hockey Hall of Famer Bobby Plager remarked, "This will be the group that brings me my parade." Now that you have some information about the state of the Blues roster heading into the season, it is easy to see why many were upset with the way the team was performing. The Blues had a few distinct low points during the first half of the season, including a November 20th home loss 2-0 to the Los Angeles Kings, who were at the time the worst team in the NHL. The Blues fired their coach Mike Yeo right after the game. On December 10th, teammates Robert Bortuzzo and Zach Sanford got into a fight during practice. Christopher Powers, a reporter for GolfDigest.com, wrote an article with the headline, "St. Louis Blues teammates fight during practice. Team has reached peak dysfunction." Good call, Christopher. Good call. Both Bortuzzo and Sanford played on the team that won the Cup final. On January 3rd, the Blues were in last place in the entire league. No team had ever gone on to win the Cup after being in last place at any point after the new year started. Tensions were reaching a breaking point and something had to change. Now that I've told you about the low points, I would like to tell you how the Blues turned everything around. Starting in January, the Blues began to completely play a new style of hockey, ending the season 30-10-5, one of the best records in the league during that stretch. During this time, the Blues discovered their new victory song, Gloria by Laura Branigan. It happened by mistake after some team members were out at a bar after an away game in Philadelphia, and they just heard the song playing over the loudspeakers. Gloria seemingly brought the luck that the Blues had been missing in the first half of the season, as well as a refreshed sense of passion from the fans. The Blues promoted rookie goaltender Jordan Binnington, giving him the starting spot over Jake Allen. He was pivotal in the team winning the Cup. The Blues won a franchise record 11-game winning streak from January 23rd to February 19th. This run gave the Blues a legitimate shot at making the playoffs. The team began to find their identity during this time. This was the longest winning streak by any team in the league during the entire season. Finally, Blues interim head coach Craig Berube took control of the team. He emphasized that his players should take one game at a time and not let the highs get too high and the lows be too low. Now that you know about the Blues transition, let me tell you about their playoff run in the Stanley Cup final. The Blues started their playoff run on April 12th and it ended 2 months later on June 12th. The Blues won their first series, defeating the Winnipeg Jets in 6 games. The Blues advanced to the next round to play the Dallas Stars. They won that series in 7 games in double overtime, decided by a game-winning goal by hometown hero Pat Maroon. For the second time in 4 seasons, the Blues would meet the San Jose Sharks in the Western Conference Final. The Sharks were favored early, but everyone in St. Louis believed that we had a legitimate shot at making the Cup for the first time since 1970. In the end, the Blues won the series, and they finally made it back to the Cup Final. The Blues were pitted against the Eastern Conference champion Boston Bruins in the Stanley Cup Final. The last time the Blues played the Bruins was the last time they were in the Cup Final in 1970, where the Bruins won 4-0. Each team pushed for the advantage, but it went to 7 games, where the Blues ultimately won 4-1. Today, I began by addressing the off-season signings made by the Blues, as well as the lofty expectations for the season that followed. I then explained exactly when and where the Blues hit their low points of the season, followed by when they hit their highest points of the season, capping that off with an 11-game winning streak. After that, I chronicled the Blues' amazing run to the Stanley Cup Final. The St. Louis Blues defied all odds on the way to capturing their first Stanley Cup in the 52-year history of the franchise. After 52 years, the wait is finally over. What happens next remains to be seen, but one thing is certain. The St. Louis Blues are Stanley Cup champions, and their names will be written on that cup for all of eternity. Gloria.